Welcome to a special episode of our Inside Voice series on the C-Suite podcast that we are recording at Communicate's internal communications and engagement live event taking place at the Brewery, London. My name is Russell Goldsmith and my company Audere, producers of this podcast, are actually sponsoring the event. And my colleague Debbie West, the usual presenter of Inside Voice, is actually presenting a session on stage at the conference later. And so I'll be catching up with her and a number of the other speakers of today to give a real flavour and overview of the discussions taking place at the conference, and I really hope you enjoy the show. So I'm now joined by Anne Kerr, the VP for Global Communications at Travelport. Anne, you're presenting the final session of the day titled How to Move the Needle on Employee Engagement and Deliver Commercial Results, which is all about your Guinness World Record breaking campaign to visit all new 7 wonders of the world in just 7 days, using only public transport. So really excited to hear about that. But first of all, let's get a quick introduction to Travelport.
Of course, hi. So Travelport is a travel tech company. Think of us a bit like Amazon or eBay. We provide a marketplace that connects suppliers on one side, so in our case airlines, hotels, car rental companies, with buyers of travel, agencies like Expedia or Trailfinders. We're the pipe between the two.
Let's rewind to the start. Where did this idea come from and what was the reasoning for it?
So our technology platform, Travelport Plus, we'd introduced it recently to the market, and it makes planning, booking, managing travel simple for travel agencies and travellers. That was easy for us to say, but we really needed to prove it, and we needed to show our employees that was the case as well. So we put it to the test. We decided to send British adventurer Jamie McDonald, who's also known as Adventureman, on the most complex trip. We asked him to visit the new 7 wonders of the world in less than 7 days, as you said, using only public transport. And it was our platform that was going to allow him to do that. Success would, as you said, mean setting a Guinness World Record. Yeah. Now,
we're at an internal comms event, so what were some of the internal challenges that you faced?
So we were at a time where we'd just come out of COVID, and in the travel industry that was really dramatic. We had 90% of our revenue comes from flight bookings, so overnight that had disappeared. We had asked colleagues to take cuts in pay, in pension contributions, in bonus. We'd had to reduce our numbers as well. So morale was particularly low. We needed a campaign that was going to boost that morale and help them believe that as a company we could still succeed even with reduced resources.
In terms of the strategy then, and again I'm thinking particularly for the internal comms element, but it would be good to understand how that fitted in with the overall strategy as well, for the overall campaign. But can you talk us through that?
Absolutely. So we had to take a really sensitive approach. Budget was obviously an issue. We couldn't be seen to be spending lots of money and flying someone around the world when we'd had to lay off lots of employees. So we really wanted to make sure our employees felt involved in the campaign, that they had some skin in the game. So we were absolutely led by our values. We took a very bold approach, and we put our people first as well. We took made lots of initiatives that would allow them to participate, to really feel involved. And we had 3 phases of activity, all centred around a live global watch party that brought everyone together to reveal the outcome of the challenge. And we started off by getting a lot of excitement and participation in the challenge. We announced our Chief Adventure Officer, so we recruited an employee, who became the voice of the employees, who was able to go out and meet Adventureman on the finish line, who then shared lots of insights from behind the scenes. We did lots of things. We had gamification, we had competitions, we had our senior leaders were involved at every level. And we wrapped up, following the reveal with the live watch parties, we wrapped up with a campaign that allowed us to really spread the word, to harness that buzz and make sure that colleagues could go out and talk about the campaign.
Can you share any of the results in terms of what it generated, anything that you managed to measure at all?
So we had over 70% of our colleagues came and watched the global party live, the global watch party. Something like 63% of them were involved in participating and doing all the gamification. And we saw a massive boost in morale. So we had, the last time we had measured Pride, we had come in at about 69%. Pride in working for Travelport. That was before COVID. This time it was up to 86%.
Excellent. And I guess it would be good to know the impact externally too. Can you talk us through that?
We saw a 70% increase in sales leads, and that led to a pipeline of about $12 million worth of revenue.
Brilliant. How are you going to top that next time?
I know, quite a challenge. And what we've done is we've taken a lot of the insights that we learned and applied them to our BAU activity. So, for example, we now have live colleague hosts on our end-of-year all-company calls. We regularly run sales leaderboard challenges and allow our teams to compete regionally, really putting our people back at the heart of the activities that we do.
Well, listen, I know it's very busy here in the networking session at the moment. Good luck with your session later today, but for now, Anchor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So I'm now joined by Andy Jones, the Group Internal Communications Manager at PIB, and my colleague and co-host of the C-Suite podcast, Debbie West, also Senior Account Director at Audere. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show, you guys were presenting on stage earlier. Audere is actually sponsors of the event. And the two of you were talking about campaign that we've been working with you on, Andy, as our client at PIB. The topic was crafting connection through the power of podcasting. So, Andy, should we start with a quick introduction to PIB?
Yes, so PIB is a insurance intermediary focused on specialist solutions. It is a global business with employees in UK, Ireland, mainland Europe and India, and has been going 10 years this year.
And what was the reason behind launching an internal podcast?
So PIB Group is an acquisitive business and grows out hubs in different countries. And so what we found is that we've got a lot of different hubs and employees on very different parts of the journey into joining and being part of PIB Group. So a consistent challenge for us in the comms team is to create comms that brings them all together and makes them feel like one PIB group, and a lot of the content that we do or used to do was a lot of written and short form video, but we really wanted to dive deeper into topics and subjects and really sort of bring a bit of personality into it as well. So a podcast seemed like the perfect solution.
Right. Debbie, obviously we're big fans of podcasts. It's what we do for a living at the end of the day. They may not be thought of as a solution for internal comms, though, by a lot of people. So I was just wondering, can you talk through some of the reasons why a podcast works in that environment?
Yeah, for sure. And it was a great time to work with Andy on that podcast as well, because he had that kind of cultural imperative to bring people together around a type of content that would unite lots of people across that sort of disparate group of cultures inside the organisation. So that was super territory for an internal comms podcast. So I think a lot of people struggle with how they're going to share that content. And again, that's something that Andy had worked on already, and he knew exactly how to get that audio content out to his people. And then it's around structuring a podcast in a way that you know is going to really appeal to the people inside your organisation. So it's really giving them something that's informative, but it's also entertaining, and it's something they do want to tune into. It's giving them a why that they want to listen to that content, and what the information is they're going to take from that's going to help them with their career, with their thought process, or with their sense of connection to that organisation. And it's such a great form of content in order to create that connection, that real understanding of your senior leaders, where your organisation's been, what it's doing now, and where it's going in the future. So it was perfect for that.
Talk us through the process that you went through in terms of helping Andy put this podcast together. Then.
Yeah, so it was about getting a real understanding of Andy's vision, which was brilliant. He had this really clear vision for the podcast. So understanding that and then translating that into a produced podcast that was going to really bring that vision to life, and then understanding who Andy wanted to feature on the podcast, and then the sort of the process we needed to go through in order to capture that content. So we were very lucky in that we were able to record the first 3 episodes as a pilot in the room with the 2 voices that we were going to capture on the podcast. So it gave us the opportunity to have a really a nice setup so that we could capture some video content alongside really high quality audio content. And it gave Andy the opportunity to promote some great trailer content that really generated appeal inside his colleague group. And so it was, we then had a process of scripting and editing that content to really make sure it matched the appetite that Andy's people had and that delivered on the vision that Andy had for the outcome at the end of the day.
Nice segue. What was that vision, Andy?
So the two top leaders in our business, Brendan and Ryan, have a fantastic dynamic. So the vision really was to just get them together in front of a mic and let people listen to the conversations that they have day in, day out in their shared office. So they're always talking to one another about the future of PIB Group, the direction, how we get there. And if we could sort of bottle those conversations and deliver it to the rest of the group, we'd have something really powerful to use. It was the goal was always, can we make our colleagues feel like they're a VIP guest sitting right next to Brendan and Ryan and listening into that conversation.
And how did you decide on the content, and how involved were those two individuals in putting that together? As Debbie mentioned, we did 3 episodes together in one afternoon, and there were a number of different topic ideas that we could have gone with, and the options are limitless. But what we decided to do was to provide a foundational base of knowledge for everyone, and the goal really was to help demystify what PIB Group is, its past and its future. We came up with 3 episodes, one that was all about the past, one about the future, and then sort of the third and final one sort of bridged that. And I've been really fortunate that Brendan and Ryan are very happy to be directed by us. So they didn't have much input. They trusted us to decide the best topics. And then I emailed them 6 days before recording and said, "You're doing this Monday." Excellent. Can you share any feedback that you've had from employees and the like?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. So one of the key metrics for us really was that this podcast resonated with not only our native English-speaking employees who are also a bit closer to the execs, but actually across the group. So we've had comments and likes and requests for more episodes from across all of our different countries. But one of the key comments that I overheard is one of our very senior managers actually said, I work with you every day and I should probably know all of this stuff, but I learned something from that episode, and so it was really insightful. So we're still educating those that work day in, day out with Brendan and Ryan. So that was fantastic to hear.
Great to hear. Final question. What would your advice be to any internal comms professionals looking to embark on a similar project?
I've got 2. One is definitely work with professionals. There is a lot more to think about a podcast than just hitting record. So definitely, we couldn't have done it without the help of Audere. But also the second one is to think about that wider, the wider campaign of it all, and how you brand it both visually and the audio. So think about all the different elements and make sure they fit and are consistent in with the rest of your channel mix.
Tremendous. Great to hear about the whole project and how it's come together. But for now, Andy Jones, Debbie West, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So I'm now joined by Pierre de Malherbe, the Chief Brand Officer at 10 Days London. Pierre, thanks so much for taking some time to join us. We're in the lunch break at the moment. Your session is a little later today. It's all about onboarding, engagement and career development for Generation Alpha. So I guess we should start, just in case anyone isn't aware, should we start by just clarifying exactly kind of what age group we're referring to when we talk about Gen Alpha and when they'll be entering the workplace?
Thanks for having me, Russell. Excited to be here. Yes, exactly. Generation Alpha. That's basically anyone born from 2010 to 2025. This is the last year of this generation. So they are now 15 years old, and they will probably be entering the workforce around 2030. They might be thinking about internships, apprenticeships, where they're going, what they're studying. So I think we have about 5 years till Generation Alpha becomes a reality. But round about now, 15-year-olds, they're already much more behaving like adults. So they're thinking about what they want to study, where they want to go next. I think it's an exciting generation to look at, actually.
So not long for companies to prepare for them, entering their workplace, as you say. How do they differ from their Gen Z predecessors?
So Gen Z was very activist. They fought for diversity, they fought for equity and inclusion policies. They also fought for sustainability. Think Greta Thunberg, for instance. And also Generation Z was very much let loose digitally without they had free reign, which also damaged them a little bit and gave them this focus on mental health issues as well. So Generation Alpha has learned from that. They're expecting the purpose, they're expecting equality in the workplace, they're expecting sustainable initiatives. So there is an expectance from Gen Alpha because Gen Z has fought for these much harder. And I always summarize them as being social, global, and mobile. So they're online, being social much more than the other generations, but also much more aware of the dangers that brings. And they're more global. They're global citizens already, no matter where they live, because they have access to global news through the internet as well. And they're more mobile as well. On the go, tech devices, smartphones, they've grown up with that.
I was going to say, I suppose they've been born into this online world, haven't they? So that they know nothing different.
Very much so. Generation Alpha was born when the first generation iPad was launched and Instagram was there. So, I mean, they don't really know a world without.
Yeah. What are they going to want from their employers then when they turn up on day one?
I think there's 5 points that are really still important for employers to consider. I mean, purpose and relevance. 30% of Gen Alpha say they want to make a difference to the planet and to people. So how do the values of the company reflect that, what I want to achieve? And am I going to be valued by the company as well to achieve this? Obviously, sustainability as well as diversity and inclusion play a role as well. What's the storytelling around it? So I think brand storytelling has never been more important than now, basically, to engage this cohort. And basically digital solutions, they're always digital first.
Yeah. So what kind of challenges would this create for companies? And also, which of those companies going to be better placed to overcome them? You know, will it be the well-resourced, more established organisations, or are we looking at startups, scale-ups?
I think both are equally well positioned. I mean, for a scale-up and a startup, it's much easier to engage a Generation Alpha in their story to make them feel valued. It's probably a small workforce, they're growing, there's a lot of time, a lot of pressure as well. So different things to manage, but obviously gives Gen Alpha this freedom, because the gig economy model, which we've seen rise with the millennials and has really gone very big with Gen Z, being flexible, working for yourself, having a couple of jobs, having multiple careers, that's something that's going to continue with Generation Alpha. So I think big organizations just need to think about that. How can we give Gen Alpha the flexibility that they need? How can we make them feel valued? And how can we train them so they grow with us over the years? So constant upskilling is something that's going to be important as well.
Can you give some examples of what companies are doing at the moment to attract this new generation?
Yes, a couple of examples. So this new generation, they hang out on social media. YouTube is one of their preferred channels, as well as podcasts. So you see Unilever there with their employee stories, which are very engaging, inviting them in, telling them how it is to work here and who's working here, what are the characters, what can you expect. So again, brand storytelling via your employees, but also inviting them in. Mercedes-Benz, for instance, in Germany, in their factories, in the summer, during summer holidays, they invite kids in for a day. Look how we make cars and how that's changing. We're not focused so much on engineering anymore, it's much more focusing into IT skills and electric cars. And they go there for a day. They can, at the end of the day, build and design their own car and feel inspired and already understand a little bit more what a car manufacturer is going through.
And so finally, let's just sum up. What can we expect when Gen Alpha arrive at the workplace?
Well, we can expect a demanding young cohort that's digitally first and digitally educated as well. They have shorter attention spans as well, and they like to learn online, but with real examples as well. So, I mean, we can expect a motivated workforce that is looking for a work-life balance, that wants to feel valued and bring value, and how can I grow long-term with this company, basically. That's the big question.
Perfect. Pia, listeners can probably hear it's just got a little bit quieter here because everyone's heading back from lunch into the session, so I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thank you for sharing all that information. Pia de Malla, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Russell, for having me.
So I'm now joined by Katie Mogra, the Customer Success Manager at Oak Engage. Katie, you've just come off stage with your clients, Halfords Auto Centres. We're going to come on to talk about that session in a second, but let's start with a quick intro to your company.
So we are at Oak Engage. We are an award-winning employee app and intranet solution, and it's our mission to make communications simple.
Brilliant. Now, I mentioned earlier you were speaking with Halfords Auto Centres. The session that you gave was called How Halfords Auto Centres Cuts Through the Noise and Drives Efficiency Using Your App Platform, in what you described as a transformative partnership. So let's go right back to the start. What were the challenges that Halfords initially came to you with?
Yeah, so they are a predominantly deskless workforce, and they were operating on a paper-based system. So they need to file documents, resulting in boxes of paperwork and everything not being in one central location. Because they are a predominantly deskless workforce, it meant that communication was getting lost, the employees and the teams weren't finding out the relevant information readily available to them. That's their policies, documents, articles, and just being involved with the Halfords culture.
Yeah, I guess a lot of time wasted as well when they're searching for that info.
Yeah, correct.
Would you say that's a typical set of challenges that many internal comms professionals are facing?
Yeah, definitely. So we speak to internal communications professionals quite regularly, and it is really hard for them to try and navigate with employees and really get them engaged. So that is definitely a challenge that we see.
Great. So talk us through the solution that you provided then for Halfords Auto Centres.
So we provided Halfords with a fully branded app called Connect, which allowed Halfords to connect to their predominantly deskless workforce, meaning that they were able to get the documents, articles, policies, contents, get engaged with competitions readily at their fingertips because it was on their mobile phone. So that's how we've helped result in more efficient operations and better customer service.
So was there a two-way communication capability on the app as well?
Yeah, so it was essential for Halfords to have a two-way communication with their employees to make sure that they were really engaged, really understanding of the content that was being put out there, whether it was the competitions that they were running, whether it was the policies that they need to read. Through breaking news, notices, all of these features that we've got readily available on Oak and through the mobile app, that was just transformative for their business.
Great. And can you share some of the numbers in terms of how many people actually downloaded the app and were using it?
Yeah, so it's 71% of active users have downloaded the app, which is incredible for that industry.
And what about in terms of results? Obviously, I know you can't go into the finer details, but have they seen an impact on Halfords' business?
Yeah, so it's improved productivity, it's increased efficient operations, better customer service, and that is because the employees are informed, they understand where they need to go for, like I say, the policies, their content, and just readily information at their fingertips. And
what about things like onboarding with staff? Is it used for that? And has that helped? Have they seen an impact on staff retention maybe?
Yeah, correct. They have seen an increase on staff retention, and that is because they put in onboarding pages on there so that the new starters have all the information readily available to them, and they already feel like part of that Halfords culture. So that's made a huge impact.
Now, doing my research for this interview, I had a look on your website. It's very clear there. You talk about your innovative intranet AI technology. How does that fit into the overall solution that you're offering? And is AI something that clients are now expecting, as part of that solution?
Yeah, AI is such a huge thing at the minute, and it's going to be such a huge trend, I think, for 2025 and beyond. AI is instilled within our product and is ever developing. So we have an assistant called Audere at the minute, and she helps you write documents, articles, policies, any piece of content that you really need. And that is just a game changer for anyone internal comms that, is stretched for time. Not only who are well versed in internal comms and have that experience, but who are potentially junior or just started. So I think it's a real game changer for us and for the customers that are using it. In addition to that, We also have our AI analytics that's coming up this year. So we have analytics within the product in itself, and that is amazing for our internal comms. They can just kind of download that data and extract that and then take that to meetings or board meetings. But what we're doing this year going forward is actually getting AI to summarize all of that data for you and putting that into a PDF. Nice presentation, putting that all in a little package so that you can take that away again to your board meetings or whoever really needs to see it. And that is going to be a game changer, again, saving so much time for those internal communications professionals.
Sure. And so finally, aside from the continual growth and impact of AI that we hear about on so many of our interviews, what other trends should internal communicators be looking out for in the next, say, 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, of course. Short form video is definitely one of them. And, we've seen the rise in TikTok, Instagram Reels. So I really do think that people need to start being more accessible and using video format. With it being accessible and within Oak as well, we have subtitles that go along with those videos, making it a bit more accessible for those who potentially don't want to listen on audio or just want to read the subtitles or have hard of hearing. So we're making it a bit more accessible. We are really encouraging our customers to use video content. Not only is it more engaging, we're seeing that 95% of users who are seeing it in video format actually remember the information that they're seeing. So I think that's going to be, a hot trend for this year and again and beyond.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for sharing all that information. But for now, Katie Mogra, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Well, that's actually it for this episode. Thanks once again to all my guests who took some time out of the conference to have a chat with me today. If you'd like to contribute to the discussion, then we'd love to hear from you. You can find the C-Suite podcast on LinkedIn and all the usual social channels. And also, if you'd like to show your support for the podcast, please do follow, rate and review us on the likes of Apple, Spotify and YouTube. It really does make a difference and we really appreciate it. Finally, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can do that via our contact form on the website at csweetpodcast.com, where you can find all our previous shows and show notes. But for now, from me, Russell Goldsmith, until next time, goodbye.